Maboika, Warhab, Rahubat, bienvenido, and welcome again to another podcast. This is Silos Congas, the African Royal Kingdom Crown Ambassador, Carlos Hernandez y Pachot, but also known as Silos Congas, you know. And it's my pleasure. It's an honor. Rahubat, Hansu, Rahubat, my esteemed brother, Zamal. Love you. Mucho corazón. Wepa kenepa. I need to call you and build a little bit with you. I entitled this one here, Setting the Record Straight. For the simple reason that I go into a lot of these podcasts and I see what's being discussed. Let me get on camera here. Yeah. Hey, peace. Yeah. So I am. Give me 1 second here. Hold on a second. Put a little light. This light up here. Yeah. So I see what's being discussed. In the narrative and stuff like that, because I'm very concerned. About the youth and what kind of information, misinformation, what kind of narrative we regurgitate and we feed them. It's very important. Again, I'm a very I totally agree with Abisu Campos, one of our ancestors, may rest in peace, one of the most intelligent men on this planet that lived on this planet. And that's coming from Patnabat Yanani. That's coming from a lot of scholars. Abisu Campos, when you check out his work. And one thing that he was known for, many axioms and many things that he said. One of them that stuck with me the most is he says, educate the youth the truth, in truth. Educate them in truth so that they don't become conquered or enslaved. So we already had discussed what is truth, putting all those pieces, fitting them perfectly together. And also validation. You have to validate. And that's what this discussion is going to be about this narrative that I hear a lot, especially when it comes to Freemasonry. If you look at the history of Freemasonry, you can go back biblical. You can also go back oral traditional. You can go back to many different cultures, and you see how Masonry, building their temples and building, and organizing themselves into certain unions and lodges were very important to them. This is an ancient custom, in Kemet, in the Nile Valley, also in Mesopotamia, Timbuktu in West Africa. You see a union, a lodge, an organization. If anybody ever worked in a construction site, you see this organization, the foreman, and you see, the certain leaders, certain foremans and leaders, and that guide you. And it goes by succession. You always have somebody that's a master, some skill, and always have somebody with them that is an apprentice, or somebody with them that carrying their tools. You know what I'm saying? And taking care of certain other tasks. So it's a rite of passage. You see this, especially if you worked in construction. So that's what deals with Masonry. A lot of that was also transferred over to creating unions and lodges. Speculative in certain organizations, And so, a lot of it, it predates the Bible. If you're looking at the King James Bible written in 1611, this predates that, because you find oral traditions, you find artifacts, you find actual, edifice, buildings and constructions that predates, thousands and thousands of years. So there had to be some type of organization. Had to be. That's what building is all about, is forming these different organization tasks that each person have, because depending on the skills that they have, right? And the rite of passage, apprenticeship, and stuff like that, passed on the family lineage through the children, the sons or the daughters, whatever, these skills are passed on. So this is something that predates, biblical, but it's mentioned it's mentioned, it's transferred, it's mentioned in the King James Bible. You know, when you speak about the story of Nimrod and when they were building the tower, you know, saying that's masonry. And the way, you know, and you know, some Masons know the story, the inner story of how they could transfer that into the narrative and that school of thought. And then when you get up to you know, Israel, the tribe of Israel, and you get into Solomon reign, you get into the building of Solomon Palace. You know what I'm saying? According to the Bible. I'm not saying this is actual truth. I'm saying according to the narrative. So in the Bible, you see this played out. You see this organization. You see this skill, this union being formed. And so you say this, oh yeah, where in the Bible? Where in the Bible? Well, let me share my screen here. Right? Let's look at the blue letter. Let me share my screen. And this is in 1 Kings, right? You can see that. 1 Kings 7:21. And he set up the pillars in the porch of the temple. This is speaking about the temple that was built, that Solomon was building, right? We can, you know, we can go back and I can show you, but on your own research, look it up, you know, 1 Kings 7:21, and you can go back and forward. You know, but in 21, it says he sets pillars in the porch of the temple, and he set up the right pillar and called the name thereof Yachin. See, Yachin, right? Then he set up the left pillar and called the name thereof Boaz. So if you know anything about Masonry, that's what I'm saying. A lot of people speak about Freemasonry, but they don't know anything about the teachings, the narratives of what's involved with Freemasonry and the symbolism that's in Freemasonry. I'm gonna pull it up in a few, but here you have two pillars that many Masons know that these two pillars are presented to you, even in the mosque, you know, in what they call the Qibla, the niche, you know, the two pillars. Even in churches, you see these two pillars. You see these two pillars played out in many, even courthouses and city hall. These two pillars is what they call Jachin and Boaz. Okay, you know, and I can show you pictures and stuff like that. And I'm going to show you in a few seconds. So you see, and upon the top of the pillars where Lily works, so was the work of the pillars finished. Okay, so it's speaking about these pillars, Jachin and Boaz. So if anybody know about Freemasonry, you know, those are key words of how you recognize certain Masons when you ask them certain questions so they can validate. It's all about validation. So, you know, there's a lot of narratives out there that it's satanic. So if it's satanic, if Freemasonry is satanic organization, then what is the symbolism in the Bible? Why is it in the Bible? Why is it speaking about Solomon? So what you say, either the Satanists took it from the Bible or the Bible took it from the Satanists. You know what I'm saying? You will have to make those evaluation. You will have to explore that. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you that not all Masonry is a school of thought. And again, there were organizations that hijacked that particular school of thought because it taught about organization so they can further their organization. So the Illuminati, the illuminated one, took what they can, reached out to Masons and took what they can from that in order to further their agenda. It happens all the time. It's part of life. It's part of building. I'm sorry. Oh shit. It's part of building. You know what I'm saying? So here you go. 1 Kings 7:21. For those of you who says, well, you know, where can we find Freemasonry in the Bible? Here it is, right here, because it's talking about building a temple, a palace, a temple, a kingdom, a Solomon temple. Okay, and also when you go back into Nimrod, I could have brought that up and what he was building and what he set out. You know, the ashlar, the stone, the building and stuff, the bricks, you know what I'm saying? And if you know, so, you know, I hear a lot of talk. But the ones that are regurgitating a narrative right? Regurgitating a narrative from what they saw in the media, what they heard by many people like what Alex, what's his name, oh my God, from the Infowars, stuff that what his name? There's a couple of there is a couple of the internet, the media was bombarded by these narratives from these what they call speakers, that had a certain narratives. You know what I'm saying? And they just mentioned a section of what happened on the split, because yes, when what is it, Adam Weishaupt, I believe, from the bankers, when they started to want to grow their organization, they used the lodge. They used that school of thought. And yes, there was a grand hierophant by the name of Albert Pike, and he was a Satanist. He wrote the book, I think, a Dogma, Dogma of something. I don't know too much, because I don't lean towards that school, that particular vein. But I did come across it, and I did read some of it, because you have to know, you have to validate things, you got to investigate in order to know. But I'm sure if I pick my brain a little bit and go in, and I can find keywords, and I can bring up a lot of information about that, which I feel that I might do that in my Patreon and go really in depth into it, so that everyone will have the sources, what I'm saying, the sources that they can relate to the youth and tell them, look, I'm not telling you to become a Mason, but in no way. I'm not telling you to be going to Freemasonry, Masonry, or anything, and by no way, you know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is, we have to be careful when we regurgitate other people's narratives, and especially the media that use dangerous environments in order to spread their agenda and stuff. Politicians do that. A lot of preachers do that. You know what I'm saying? They spread this missed information. They don't know, because they haven't experienced it. They haven't experimented. They don't know. You know what I'm saying? They haven't investigated. They haven't validated anything. So here's the validation. You know what I'm saying? So yes, you see this in First King again, 7:21, mentions Jachin and Pillar. Now, give me 1 second. Share my screen again. When we go into Masonic symbols, right? Here you have the Boaz and the Jachin. You know what I'm saying? This is the esoteric meaning of the two pillars, Boaz and Jachin. You can Google this. Since the dawn of civilization, the entrance of sacred mysterious places have been guarded by two pillars. Since the dawn of civilization. And, twin pillars are architectural symbol representing important gateway. It has symbolism, a gateway, and initiative are being taught on what the significance of these two pillars are. And again, that is the gateway. And it also speaks about this same gateway when we talk about Atlantis and the gateway, those two pillars, the interest into Atlantis. And you see this played out. This is it. Column pillars of Hercules in ancient Greece to the gateway. Many civilizations use these two pillars because that's part of building your nation, your civilization. These two pillars had a significance, and it comes all from Freemasonry. So the Masonic use of the term Jachin and Boaz originated in biblical account of King Solomon's temple. The master builder of Solomon's temple was Harim Abiff, a prominent figure in Masonic rituals. So again, you read in 1 Kings 6, from chapter 7, and the dimension describes the dimension, the cast of the two pillars. You can go on, you can read on. Again, these two pillars, and on and on and on. This is biblical. This is what we call, and also you see it in played out in esoteric teachings when it comes to, what I'm saying, to different, different schools of thoughts. That's why I can understand why people say, oh, it's satanic because it's in the tarot card. But it doesn't mean that it's satanic. It just means that people that subscribe to those teachings picked and used information in order to further their agenda. You know what I'm saying? That's it. What else can we say? So and yes, there was peace and blessing to you. More, we have morals and dogmas of Freemasonry. That's right. My brother, another my Masonic brother, Harold Min, what I'm saying, who is very, very well versed in the Masonic school. One of the brothers that I also, that I lean for advices and knowledge and stuff like that, because he was intensively involved in that. But again, it 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 does, not that it hurts, but it's so, man, it's so it man, it's so sad that we have to hear a lot of our brothers and sisters out there regurgitating certain narratives, because this is your right. Your builders, your forefathers were ancient builders and had the science of building and constructing civilization. And now that you're displaced, now you're looking at all those skills that they what I'm saying, because other cultures use it for their benefit. Now you're looking at all those skills, and you painted it as pseudo or derogatory, and you're spreading misinformation. You're spreading omitted data. You're spreading sequences, time sequence, out of sequence. You know what I'm saying? And it's very sad. So very sad. This has become the narrative. This has become stuff that I'm hearing. Albert Pike, morals and dogma. That's right. That's right. Assalamu alaikum, my brother. That's right. Yep. And so, yeah, morals and dogma. That's right. So, because Albert Pike, took that school and created another branch of Masonry, you know what I'm saying, and took that school and became an Hierophant and became the epitome of that particular school. Now, everybody want to paint that brush, that picture, and say, oh, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't work like that. Before Albert Pike, there was Timbuktu. Before Timbuktu, there was civilization. There was Kemet. There was the Nile Valley. There was the Mali Empire building. There were Africans building structures using masonry and using that school of thought. So before, you know what I'm saying? So that's, again, time sequence. They misinform you, you know what I'm saying? And so they don't see the differences, you know what I'm saying? Because they don't know. So how are you going to speak about the school of Freemasonry and speak about it, say this and that about it, if you don't know, you don't investigate, you don't expect validation? At the end of the day, validation is so important. Investigation, you have to know. You have to know. Because if you don't know, you're going to spread this misinformation, this narrative. You're putting our future in jeopardy here. You know what I'm saying? You're not allowing, you're robbing our future of certain skills that our forefathers had, traditions that our forefathers had. You're robbing them of that. So again, when you speak about Freemasonry, understand one thing. It's a school of thought. It teaches this art of organization, right? And that school of thought can be taken and reformed, rebranded in other ways to fit other organizations' agenda. Like you have the unions, right? And the mafia. And the unions took that school of thought, the mafia, for their agenda, their profit, their rituals. You know what I'm saying? So you can't not, and I understand that some people just get caught up in the whole preaching and pastor and and the Freemasons say they're caught up in that whole narrative. They're caught up in that whole role. They're playing that role, but we recognize that role. We recognize that role because we experience that with pastors. You know what I'm saying, with certain churches spreading this type of information that is not true. And a lot of the churches, a lot of your pastors and deacons, and that structure is based on a Masonic structure. You know what I'm saying? But they will never tell you that. They'll hide that from you. You know what I'm saying? So that's ungenuine, man. That's really, really very bad. Very bad. So again, when speaking about Freemasonry, understand that you can't you can't put it into one category. You can't say that's hasty generalization. You can't say because the European use Freemasonry and the Illuminati use it to further satanic agenda doesn't mean that all Masons are involved in that. No, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. And you got to get to the core of it, the beginning of it. If you're going to use biblical text, and get to the beginning of it. If you're going to use oral traditions and architecture, because architecture is part of Freemasonry. Architecture and psychology, all the structure, institutional structures is part of Freemasonry. We learned that when we climbed those steps. You know what I'm saying? And so, again, you haven't experienced it, brother. Why get up there in a puppet? Why speak about things and regurgitate stuff that you hear from, what is it, Maxwell? Some that one of them speakers, Maxwell, or that other guy that was banned a lot from, even though he doesn't speak so derogatory about it, but sometimes he makes mentions of it. What's his name? Oh my God, yeah. He was banned from YouTube and banned from a lot of social media. But yeah, you had a stream. I love my brother also, Bobby Hammett and stuff, and stuff. But he also got into that whole narrative because there was an explosion of information out there from certain European information, and this is, they were saying the truth about themselves, but it's not your story. It's not. Get to know your story. Get to know your traditions as far as native, and as far as African or native, or Iberian Peninsula, or Moorish, you know what I'm saying? And true Islam. Get to know, you know what I'm saying? Validate it, do the research. But when you start just regurgitating yes, and Masonry is evil, and the satanic ones, and Illuminati, and the government, and Obama, and Trump, and that, oh, stop it. You know what I'm saying? You're spreading dangerous environment. We know what you're doing. As a matter of fact, his brother should run for office, because this is what politicians do. Vote for me and I will stop all the Illuminati. Vote for me and I will stop all the crime. Vote for me and I will make everything right. Oh, we know that. Public relations. They're hip on all that. You know what I'm saying? So that's got to stop. So that's all I wanted. Yeah, a parrot. They repeat things that they don't know. They haven't investigated. They haven't even experienced it. You know what I'm saying? They haven't experienced. I have a lot of brothers and sisters that come to me and say, "I want, like the Eastern Stars, want to experience. They want to experience it, but as of right now, I don't know where to where to point them at. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of time it's like the mafia. The books are closed. The books are open. The books are closed. And right now, you want to make sure that you're in a lodge that is going to do the right work. And I want to make sure that anybody that I'm going to vouch for is going to receive the proper attention and knowledge, and the care that's needed to grow in the School of Masonry. You know what I'm saying? So, until then, you know what I'm saying? I tell them, hey, listen, just investigate, get to know both sides, get to investigate, and don't try to paint because you learn something. Don't try to paint it with one brush. Like, I don't paint it with one brush and say, oh, all Masonry is good, because it's not. Because there has been organizations that hijacked that school of thought and use it for their benefit and created some bad situations. Salute, Hondo. You know what I'm saying? So I won't not do that. I won't paint it with that brush. But what I'll say is like, oh, wait a minute, you got this perspective, this angle of it, and then you got this. I choose to move with this beneficial. I choose in this way to practice the art of Masonry this way, with this lodge, this Sicilla, this vein. You know what I'm saying? I don't choose that other vein. That's not me. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to stay out of their way. That's it. We know we have our Sicilla. We have our charters. We have our right. We have that school of thought that goes back for ancient time. So yeah, I'm also, I'm not gonna paint that brush like that. And I understand where a lot of brothers are coming, because again, I saw it. I saw it on the internet, and I saw it by going into different podcasts and looking into the internet and reading certain books of how, I was it Adam, what's it Maxwell is a speaker. The other brother, man, I can't, man, for the life of me, I can't think of it right now. He's got white hair. He brought he a pale man, pale horse, pale horse. Oh man, what is? But what, also, Bobby Hammett. I like some of the information that he brought out. I can listen to a lot of these guys and extract certain information, because in order for you to tell a lie, you got to know the truth. So in what they telling me and they fractalize and the lies, man, I can go so deep and rearrange it and say, I can get to the truth of this. You know what I'm saying? That's the nature of nature. Using, again, your sense of reasoning, saying that common sense, that sense of reasoning, and being honest of what, being honest. I'll be honest with you. If I ever walked into a lodge and they was doing blood sacrifices, stuff like that, I'll be like, yo, I cannot get down with that. I cannot, that's not me. You know what I'm saying? And matter of fact, in Ifa, when they do the blood sacrificing thing, that is just not me. I rather deal with herbs with Ifa. Again, many schools, even like in Ifa, you got Santero, Babalao. Some deals with animal sacrifices, some deal with strictly herbs. You can't. That's what I'm saying. You have to investigate, and you have to be part of something that's going to be beneficial to you. You know what I'm saying? Protect yourself and be honest and truthful with yourself. Be yourself. But, that's all I wanted to go in here. And I show you that in biblical sense, it does mention Jachin and Boaz. It does mention these symbolism of masonry is mentioned in First Kings in certain chapters. And also, for the brother who try to Bible thumper, oh yeah, Jesus Christ, I'm sure that Jesus, the character Jesus, knew about this. I'm sure that he studied about Solomon's palace and spoke about it. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure, that he knew this about the temples. You know what I'm saying? He was well versed. He had to know. He studied, right? You know what I'm saying? This is ancient knowledge. So don't let, again, because we're displaced people, a nation that we think that we're displaced, but in actuality we're in the land where we're supposed to be, and because of that, don't let them rob you of your right to build, your right of building civilization. Don't let them rob you of your rite of passage or traditions. And, these don't let them rob you of these narratives that don't let them rob you of that. You know what I'm saying? Don't let them. Yeah, I had a lot of people point at me, oh, why you wear that crown? Oh, that's satanic and this and that. And I had to come on a lot of podcasts, tell them, you don't know what you're speaking about. Are you a Mason? Have you experienced it? No, shut up. You don't know nothing about it. Nothing about it. You regurgitating that what you hear your pastor saying that he heard from these podcasts, from these speakers that had an agenda, a narrative. And if you never investigated, you haven't validated your truth. Validate it, man. Yes, Barno. Don't validate things. Validate it. If you want to know about masonry, I can have discussion with anybody about masonry without revealing certain things, because it is a sacred rite of passage. You know what I'm saying? Just like in Kemet, sacred rite of passage, and just like they protect and operative masons, a bricklayer or something, rite of passages in the union and stuff like that. You learn those skills, but I can more or less, point people to certain directions, give them certain information that are more, on the surface, because you could purchase Duncan rituals and see how those rituals play. I'm saying there are many things. There's books out there that you can read, but also you got brothers out here that if anybody needs, I can refer you to certain brothers, and they can educate, more or less share with you the experience they went through and share with you certain information, so that you don't have that missed information. You have a well-rounded information the way it's supposed to be, and then you validate it. You do the research. If you're interested in that, if that's something you want to pursue and you're interested in that, you know what I'm saying. And then when it comes to your children, you let them know. You know what I'm saying. The fact is, masonry, you got speculative mason, operative mason, and it's a school of thought. It's a school of organization. Teaches you how to organize. Yes, government use it, court system use it, schools, mafia, even criminal organization uses it. Because this is organization. You cannot stop that. It's organization. You know what I'm saying? But then you let them know this is that school and whatever. And if they aspire, yeah, most of the pastors are Masons. That's right, men. They are. But there's some that are not Masons. They're coming out there and trying to build churches on a foundations that are weak foundation. Weak foundation. Because I'm sure if those pastors are Masons, they have a strong foundation to build on. It's like a masonry that teaches the art of organization and that foundation, and they can build it. To be one, acts one. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And so validation at the end of the day. My good friend ZX, he got YouTube channel. Good in his own, he is in the world. Okay, I'll check it out. Bondor, I'll check it out. But yeah, at the core of it, people are going to speak this because they're going to sound so preachy and whatever, but at the same time, test the spirit. Where's the validation? Where's the validation? Hold on 1 second. Yeah, I'm back. My daughter came in, so my granddaughter's sleeping, but everything is good. So yeah, validate at the end of the day, and when I hear these things, yeah, I'm gonna come on. And a lot of brothers I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. Hey, it's the way it is. I'm gonna come on. I'm gonna set the record straight. I'm gonna be like, yo, because I tell you, my interest is the future, it's the youth. You know what I'm saying? It's arming the youth with the truth, arming them with the ability to reason things out, man, and to go places where they can experience things and experimentation. You know what I'm saying? That's my interest on these youth. You know what I'm saying? Many on here that listens to me. Oh, okay. I will check them out. Tony Mohammed. Yeah, there's a lot of Masons out here doing work with channels. But like I said, my interest is making sure that the youth are armed with that ability of reasoning, the truth, of learning, the skill of putting things together and being smart and say, wait a minute, because you're yelling at me and telling me this from the puppet finger and yelling at me doesn't make it right. Because a person yells something out does not make them right. And that's from Panabayanan, one of the axioms that he wrote. Because someone yells doesn't make them right at all. You know what I'm saying? So you have people out there preaching and oh man, they get out there with the voice, the raspy, preach and give you misinformation. If you get caught up in that, man, you're falling right back to the same cycle, and your children are going to fall right back to that same cycle. And a lot of these children are so smart, they're going to look at you like, you're a fool. You know what I'm saying? Then disrespect you. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to lean on you for any type of advice or information or any advice. And that's bad when they can't, come to you for advice and true information. And if you simply don't know, say, I don't know, but let me tell you something. Let's research this. Let's work on a project. Let's experiment. Let's research this. Let's learn everything we can learn about this. And let's see where we at with it. You know what I'm saying? Let's see whether it's benefit for it. Is it benefit or non-beneficial? And end of the day, investigation and knowing and validation is going to be benefit. Unless it's something that validates something that is one of your fears. You know what I'm saying? But it still in all, there is a benefit. There's an enlightenment at the end of the tunnel. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, my beautiful cousin Stephanie, I love you, baby. And so again, let's be very careful. Let's be very careful with again, people that get up, on YouTube, on the churches, on a puppet, and start regurgitating things to you, narratives about things, when give me the sources, let me research it just like you. If you researched it, let me research it, and let me see what kind of misinformation, omitted data that you ran into or that you didn't consider. You know what I'm saying? Always look for that omitted data. I always say, I know what I know, but I always seek to know that which I don't know. Always seek to know that which I don't know. I'm an investigator. Hands down, I investigate my children, bro. I investigate my children, my grandchildren. I am going to be an investigator, right? I want to know. I want to know what the hell. People say, oh man, best you don't know, you ain't gonna like it. Hey, if it's something that I ain't gonna like, at least I know that I don't like it. You know what I'm saying? I know that I don't like it. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, again, my heart goes out to everyone. And again, like I said, on some of these podcasts, some brothers getting up here and spitting, just vomiting all over the place, because again, they just don't know. And you can see it. They're exposing themselves. I'm vulnerable here, so I expose myself here with you, right? But then you could test me at any time. You know what I'm saying? Challenge me. I got people that challenge me all the time. Challenge what I know. And most of the time, people say, man, CeeLos, I like you. I like that. You're very reasonable. You know what I'm saying? Because I made it my business to be reasonable, to be understanding, you know what I'm saying? Be knowledgeable. At the same time, I'm living my second curve. I'm 60 years old. So there's certain things that I experimented with, and just taught me what's right and wrong in the history of things, persons, and places. You know what I'm saying? That's wisdom, because I'm at that age, you know what I'm saying? And all I can do is advise, the youth, and advise my loved ones, you know what I'm saying, my family. I'm glad that my cousin, my beautiful cousin, is here, and my families and my friends, Alex, Bondor, I'm Zaid, of course, Min, you know what I'm saying? And me and Min and myself, we come from the same school of thought, you know what I'm saying? You can speak to Min and he's gonna give it to you, and probably in his way, but it's the same school of thought. You know what I'm saying? We know, we experiment, with that school of thought, because we've been groomed, again, to reason things out. You know what I'm saying? To reason it out, investigate things. You know what I'm saying? Just don't take things at face value. Investigate it. Get to know. Because we come from that school of thought, especially in Sufi. One of the axioms was, you can believe in your cart that'll take you to your destination, but not know that there's a wheel loose. There's a difference between belief and knowing. And I'm going to constantly advise you about that. You know what I'm saying? So it's not that we're not dumb or stupid. You know what I'm saying? It's just that we're being bombarded by people, again, that are resonating like that. There's an imbalancement. They're resonating like that. So in order for you to help them and help yourself, you got to balance it. You got to look at it, like I said, paradoxically. You know what I'm saying? Paradoxically, So with that being said, I'm going to get out of here. Yeah. MasonicFind.com, good research site. Okay, Masonic, what is it? Masonic Find. is a good research place. Let me put that down here. This is from my brother Min. He said to he's on Facebook because I'm broadcasting on Facebook. He said Masonic. Is it Masonic? MasonicFind.com. What places you can? I put it on the chat over here, YouTube chat. MasonicFind.com. You know, anybody who's on my Facebook can see it. You know what I'm saying? He put it on there. Min, I put it on my my StreamYard chat, MasonicFind.com. If you want to research, you know, certain things, you know what I'm saying? Don't get caught up in the narrative. Don't let them rob you. I said, don't let them rob you of your legacy, of skills, of building, even for women with the Eastern Star, of building households, and many schools are thought, even Masonic school, women in the Masonic school, you know, building. Don't let us rob of our legacy, of our traditions, of building our family. You know what I'm saying? Through these values and these principles and these rite of passage. Don't allow it. I won't allow it. And I don't think you should allow that. You know, I spoke in a lot, you know, I was on the Lion's Den and I spoke to the brothers there and telling them that, you know what I'm saying? They were saying, well, you know, how are we going to fix things and why we're so destroyed and displaced? I tell them, you know why? Because and I was speaking in you know, you have to be conscious of who you're speaking with, and you know, I know they're Israelites and they subscribe to the Old Testament. I tell them, listen, our forefathers in the Old Testament lived, whatever they lived a certain way. They experienced certain things that today is experienced. Why? Because those lessons from back then, we did not learn them. We did not take in that. I'm going to do a podcast about the schools of the 7 prophets. You know what I'm saying? The 6 Israelite prophets and the 7th being the seal of the prophet Muhammad, and those schools that they brought. Matter of fact, I'm gonna give you an introduction here, right? But then we're gonna explore more into it, but in a little bit. But you know what I'm saying? The mistakes that our ancestors made, and the accounts, the documentations, and the account, and the stories, the fables and stories, in this day and time today, we're doing the same thing. According to the Israelites, we experience the same thing. Worshiping idols, like they say, worshiping idols. Well, that was back then. In Moses, they worshiped idols back then. You know what I'm saying? So did we learn from that? You know what I'm saying? You know, so there's a lot of mistakes when you look at the Israelites and saying, well, why are things the way we need a military? And they say, well, first of all, if you're going to create a military, thank you. In the military is built up, predicated upon masonry. You know what I'm saying? Yes, I met a lot of Masons that were in the Army, because that's a lot of Masonic lodges within the Army, especially when high-ranking lieutenants and captains are Masons. So, you know what I'm saying? And then the brother was saying all this, and then I tell him, look. At the end of the day, the most important thing is the youth. Is the future, is our children. We have to get involved, invested, very, very careful, invested in the programming of our youth, of our children. They can go to a public school, fine, to become a public citizen, public education, but at the same time in the household, they should get other type of information and education. It doesn't stop at the school. You got to pick it up at the house. And I'm sure there are. You know what I'm saying? You're going to teach your son, you're at home, you're going to teach your son how to fix certain things, you know, toilet, how to fix piping, fix certain things in the house, right? And the women teaching your daughters how to cook and how to create certain dishes and stuff like that. So the schooling, you know, it doesn't end with public education. But then there's other schoolings, you know, when it comes to spirituality, certain rituals and certain traditions that you want to also pass on to your children, if depending on what school of thought and what paradigm you're living, right? So I told them, you know, that's the most important thing. We to change our conditions. We have to change the way we cultivate that conditions, which is the culture. And it's with the children. It's the only way. It's with the children. Forget about you. Look at your youth. Look at the youth and see what's being programmed into them. You want them to become engineers. You know what I'm saying? You want them to apply sciences, engineers. You want them to become productive and creative, productive to create. You know what I'm saying? This is what you want. You know what I'm saying? That's how you build nations. You know? So, you know, that's where I stand at. And I let them know. You know what I'm saying? Forget about, very pessimistic. Oh, it's because of the government. It's because, you know, on YouTube, the conscious community, Obama did this and that. And all this government and politics. Forget about all that. Yeah, it exists. But you know what? Move out of the way. Forget about that. Concentrate on your children, the youth. Make them become engineers, productive. Give them the applied sciences. Be careful with the speculative stuff. If it doesn't come along with applied science, leave it alone. Because it's just doctrine and dogma. You know what I'm saying? Leave it alone. Get into the applied sciences. That's where I'm at. That's where we need to be at. Now, real fast, Dimas. And Dimas is an educator, a professor, and he could tell you he's a professor. Very important in the youth, giving them that applied sciences. Matter of fact, I think Dimas teaches programming, coding programming and stuff. You know, shout out to Dimas Sanchez, you know, Professor Dimas Sanchez. So, you know, it's so important, you know. Now, let me explain something. This is speculative. This is lessons that I think that were missed from a lot of people that follow biblical narratives, right? Because they don't know. They never learned this. And I'm going to drop just a few, and then later on we explore it. For instance, there are 6 Israelite schools of thought, 6 major prophets that came bringing a particular school of thought that we were to learn, right? And they were inducted to a sacred order which taught them. They came manifesting, amplifying a particular school. The first prophet that was actually a major prophet would be considered Adam, or who we call Zakar, right? From the Adamic race, Zakar, Adam. The school that he had to experience and learn was the school of discipline. Discipline. Did he fail? Yes. You could fail the school, but still gain wisdom, because now you know what mistakes not to make. You know what I'm saying? Simple. You know what I'm saying? My failings could teach me things. I could teach that says, hey, don't do this. Why? Because you could fail. You know, because I failed. Don't follow those steps. You're better than that. You know what I'm saying? That's wisdom. So Adam, first major prophet, considered a prophet because he came again. And Adam did write scrolls. They do have scrolls, the Suhuf, but that's another conversation. But then that was the school of discipline. The discipline that he had to have, or not to touch from the tree of good and evil, or the discipline that he had for to make sure that his mate Eve had that discipline. That school of discipline was taught in that particular school of thought. The second one, right, was Noah, the school of faith. Noah had to exhibit a faith that was beyond transcendental type of faith. Why? Because it took him 80 years. He was preaching about the end, about this flood, about the end of the world for almost 80 years. You know, the people that came, listened to him, and left, 80 years. He had to plant the ebony seed in order for these big trees to grow so that he can make the ark. I'm just giving you the narratives. All right, the school of thought. So he had to exhibit this faith for almost 80 years, right? That was that school, right? So you have Adam, Noah, Abraham. What test and what school he came to bring was the sacrifice, the school of sacrifice. He was tested. When he was tested to sacrifice his own children, certain sacrifice Adam had to make in life. in order to for his family, right? And the school, and the narrative about the sacrifice and then the lamb. You know what I'm saying? That was at school. So we had to learn about certain sacrifices we have to make in life. You know what I'm saying? So we got discipline, faith, right? Or fate, sacrifice, right? Abraham, sacrifice. Then we get to Moses, the school of patience. Anybody know the story of Echidra, of Melchizedek, and Moses following him? Just look at the Circle of Iron by Bruce Lee, wrote upon that, or you go to the Quran. I forgot the chapter, I think chapter 10 in the Quran speaks about it in depth. And also remember that Abraham also gave tribute to the king of Salem, Melchizedek, and also Moses met with Melchizedek. You know what I'm saying? And the school of patience, he had to have the patience to follow a mystic that was doing things that was far beyond his it didn't fit his explanation. It just didn't add up. But he had to have the patience that these things will be revealed to you eventually. These things will be revealed to you. So patience. So you have the school of discipline by Adam. You have this, and Noah, the school of fate. And you have Abraham, the school of sacrifice. Moses, the school of patience, right? I'm sorry. Before Moses, there was Ishmael and Israel, Jacob. That school, they were prophets. That school they brought was firmness. They had to stand firm, right? Firm. They had to learn the school of being firm, determination and firm, like Ishmael, and his mother Hajar in the desert, and Jacob and the Israelite, the firmness that they had to stand behind the Most High. So you got the school of Adam, which is discipline. You have the school of Noah, which is faith. You have the school of Ibrahim, which is sacrifice, and you have the school together of Ishmael and Jacob, which is school of firmness, right? Firmness. Then you got Moses with the school of patience, right? Then after Moses, another important school, because he was also an adept and a student and a high priest on the order of Melchizedek, was the school of Jesus, the prophet Jesus as a prophet. And the school of thought was the school of forgiveness. What a school! Because when you read that narrative, right? And now these are according to religious people. Those schools, I'm talking to my Israelite brothers and sisters now, these schools, right? And that paradigm, this school of forgiveness is that look what transpired. Look how he was treated according to them, because we know other stories and other narrative. But if he was whipped, put a crown of thorns on him, whipped and crucified, with all of that being done, still there's forgiveness in his heart. And he forgive you. Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. The school of forgiveness. He had to learn that particular school. That's what he came revealing, the school of forgiveness. Then that's the 6 Israelite prophets. Then again, the seal of the prophet. What is this? The seal of the prophet, which you say Muhammad, was the school of life and death. Okay, he had to give you the narrative, the school of what to expect after death, and how to live this life, and how to live the Old Testament, the Psalms, and the New Testament in conjunction together and creating the last testament. That's that school. Now, Javon, this is a narrative, a school of thought that's taught, right, in a specific school, right? These are taught. And these are school of thoughts that are taught when they took all what they call the 7 major prophets, and they subscribed certain schools to them. Like Adam, the school of discipline, right? Noah, the school of faith, right? Ibrahim, the school of sacrifice. When you read their story, you see these schools. And then Jacob and Ishmael, the school of firmness, right? And then Moses, the school of patience. Moses didn't have patience, and he was not even allowed to go into the promised land. You know, Joshua was the one that took the Israelites into the promised land, because Moses would not, because he would not allow, because he failed the school of patience. But in failing, we can learn from that. We know what's right and wrong in the history of things. You know what I'm saying? And then on and on. And then in the Islamic school, this is all Islamic teaching, to be honest with you. And then you have what they call the last of the prophet and the school of life and death. These are 7 schools that are schools that if we pay attention and we invest this, we can learn something. Something can be extracted from it in these schools of thoughts. So that's what I'm saying, that there are schools and the experiences that our forefathers did, and prophets and forefathers, the schools that they went through in this day and time, we missed it. We didn't study it. We missed it. We're making the same mistakes all over again. You know what I'm saying? All over again. And that's why I'm saying it's in the youth. Teach them this, teach them the way, teach them, inspire them, because this is inspiration. This is to inspire us to live a ethical life and with morals and principles, an ethical life. This is to inspire you. Spiritus, breathe this inspiration into you, so you say, wow, you know, let me look at the school. You know, when you study the school of Adam and the discipline and the mistakes that he made, you know, and the different things that we inherited, like blaming other people for stuff that we have done. You know what I'm saying? That all you can find that in Genesis, the first act of blame amongst Adam. So there was a discipline that we missed. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? And that's what this is, okay? And I just wanted to introduce you to that. You know, we can go further into those studies at a later time, but I just wanted to introduce you to that. And with that being said, is that, again, to my Israelite brothers, you know, and Bible people, you know, there's a lot of narratives out there, and you say, why the world's the way we are with all the mistakes that our people are making? Yeah, because we don't learn from those schools at all. We don't learn. A lot of these schools of thoughts also, you learn in Masonry. In Masonry, you learn the school of discipline, faith, firmness. Oh yeah, all those schools are entwined, and those are schools of thoughts that you learn in Masonry by actually practicing, experiencing, and experimenting with Freemasonry. You see, I'm just giving you a little clue right there. So again, don't let them rob you of a legacy. Don't get into the what is that guy named Maxwell, something Maxwell, and the other. Oh man, all these other you know, all these other narratives that's out there that these people put out there, because they're coming from that vein. Albert Pike, Illuminati, and you know, the government, and all, they're coming from that vein. That's their vein. That's not our tradition. That's not our tradition. You know what I'm saying? No. So I'm saying, you get caught up all in that, and you get caught up, become pessimistic, you get caught up in all that speculative narrative, then your children misses out, because you know they're being conquered and enslaved. You're not showing them how to reach the levels of applied sciences. You're not letting them do that. You know, teach your children, man. Tell them, become engineers. Why? When they're going to learn becoming engineers and working with certain organizations and companies and organizations, or building their own, they're going to find they have to do that in a Masonic way. And I'm not here telling you, oh, Mason is all it is, and it's the number one. No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that's our tradition. That's our legacy, right? We learn from that. Don't get into the other narrative, because there are people out there that are trying to destroy your legacy. They're trying to destroy your rite of passage and your ability, your skills of building and organizing together. Okay. With all that being said, thank you everyone that flew on by. You know what I'm saying? Blessings to you all, and I'm out. Thank you.